Hello.
I want to welcome everybody to the November 5th, 2019. Our official time is 6:02. I'd like to call this meeting to order. You ready, Miss?
I am.
Welcome back.
Thank you. Good to be back.
Can I have approval of the agenda at this time?
So moved, Chairman.
We have a motion. We have a second.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
We have some special guests tonight. We have 4 young ladies coming up here. One I actually watched grow up. Issa Palmer, Abby Palmer, Sarah Hall, and Miss Lena Weathers is going to lead us from the Church of Latter-day Saints in our invocation and pledge. Y'all come on. Yeah, right here. Y'all come on.
Do I
Hey,
do
y'all
a
introduce
microphone?
yourself. Yeah, is it on?
I think so.
Right on.
Want me to say in the microphone? Okay. Our dear gracious Heavenly Father, we're thankful for this opportunity that we have to come and to experience our local and county leaders and in their jobs, and we would ask that Thou would bless them, that they will be able to know what our county and our city needs, and that they will be able to accomplish that, and please help them to be able to do that to the best of their ability. We're grateful for their leadership in our county and for the things that they accomplish, and we're grateful for Thee in our lives, and we'd ask that Thou would for these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That'll be great. Thank y'all very much.
Oh, you want a picture?
I'm trying really hard.
Are you having hot flashes again? Wow. All right, we're moving on to planning and zoning. Mr. Petrowski, your comment on item A as being can you report on it? Just tell us when the schedule is going to be on that one.
Yes, sir. Item A, the application was withdrawn and will be back before the Planning and Zoning Commission in 2 weeks on November 18th, I believe is the date, but it's the third Monday. Then that won't come back to y'all for 6 months after that. I believe the date of that meeting is going to be the first meeting in June. I don't have that in front of me right now.
All right, well, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Clarification on that. All right, you want to move on to item B?
Yes, sir. Item B is a request by Martin Marietta's Materials. It's to rezone 4 parcels of land from Ag 1 to M2. It's approximately 17 acres of land. This is to allow the creation of an overburden storage area and also a retention pond. The Planning Commission has recommended approval of this request.
Okay, with any representative from Martin Marietta here tonight? Come forward. Hello.
I'm Ellen Price with Martin Marietta, Senior Environmental Engineer.
All right, how you doing?
Good.
Just going to give you opportunity to comment on what y'all are doing. I'm familiar with the area, but you might.
So we are requesting to have 4 parcels rezoned from Ag 1 to M1, I believe, M2, for the purpose of establishing an overburden area and the required sediment ponds to go along with that to control stormwater.
Okay. Any questions? With any zoning, we give up both sides. Is anybody in opposition to this request here tonight? If none,
Motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second? Second. Any more discussion? If none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're moving on tonight. We move on to consent agenda approval of minutes. We had our work session on October 15th, 2019, also the third Tuesday on October 15th, and then executive session also that night on October 15th. Has everybody had an opportunity to look at that? If so, I need a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion, second. Any discussion? If none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Ayes have it. We can move on to our visitors section. Frank Lumpkin, Youth Infiltration Coalition, proposed I-14. Interstate 14.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for having me here tonight. Commissioners also as well, to the local community of Jones County. I love coming to these things. I'm so excited about this project, and I'm really just excited to share it with you guys. So just want everyone to imagine for a moment a new interstate highway running from West Texas to Augusta, Georgia. Imagine its effect on the way travelers navigate this part of the country, its effect on logistical patterns across the South, on how hurricane evacuees can seek asylum and how rescuers can get in. This route would enhance national security. It would bring about opportunity to impoverished regions. It would lay the groundwork for a more economically developed South. This is not a dream. This is a reality that has been planned, a reality that could exist within Jones County and our greater state of Georgia. But to make it happen, I need you guys' help. So when I come and speak about this project, I really break I-14 into three parts of why it's important, and that's interstate connection, strategic military impact, and enhanced economic development. So in the packet that you've all been handed tonight breaks it into these three reasons as well. And basically, interstate connection is just about connecting places. In Georgia, we have our major interstates, and largely places that are not on these interstates have been left out of a lot of the development that other areas are seeking. And with Interstate 14, it would just provide many opportunities for other communities outside of Atlanta to have developing places that things like distribution centers, like the Amazon that Macon just got, and other sorts of businesses like that to locate in these different regions. Also, it will connect just major cities to one another, and that'll provide throughway traffic for places like Jones County that sit along the Fall Line Freeway that will make up Interstate 14. Moving on to strategic military impact, I won't really talk about this one too much, just because y'all are definitely very affected by the operations that are going on at the Robins Air Force Base, as well as Fort Gordon over near Augusta. But connecting these communities is essential for our national security. It just makes our nation safer, and that was the initial purpose of the interstate system in the first place. A nickname for Interstate 14 is the Fort Supports Highway because of the significant number of military installations that it connects with ports. And that port connection is huge for this region. Again, those businesses that want to be located near strategic ports. The Port of Savannah is the fastest growing port in the nation. And with its connection that I-14 will join it with I-16, we'll have a direct link to the Port of Savannah right here in Jones County with an I-14. Probably the most important part of this project, in my opinion, and the reason I really got involved was the enhanced economic development standpoint of I-14. You'll look on the on page 2 of your packet, the map that shows Georgia and the greater United States, the southeast route that I-14 will travel along. The counties that are in red are counties that are suffering from persistent poverty. And as you can see, I-14 goes through a lot of regions that just need a little help. And that's really why I'm a part of it, because I believe this interstate will bring about opportunity to regions that need it. And greater economic development is not just good for people who are living under the poverty line. That's great for everybody. Better business is better for everybody, and it just because it provides jobs. And these jobs are diverse in their nature. You have travel-related businesses that like hotels, gas stations, things that people using the highway will pull off and use, and that's just those are of course influenced by greater throughway traffic. You have manufacturing businesses; those are kind of like the Amazon distribution ships. The Kia plant that's up in West Point, Georgia, is located right there strategically because it's on 85 and has a good route to get to Georgia ports. With to ship all those cars. We want to bring those sorts of businesses to the communities lying next to I-14. Also, the agricultural business will be influenced in that the farmers can get their products to market quicker, as well as migrant farm labor can travel to farm more easier. And then, of course, directly benefited will be construction firms that are facilitating the interstate. But really, why is this important now, and why is this important for Georgia? It's because we really have this interstate largely built. All it would be doing is taking the Fall Line Freeway, which currently exists, and upgrading that to interstate standards. I mean, now that's much harder said than much easier said than done, but with that, it's not, you know, all of this eminent domain process and having to get all this new land. I mean, we have 99% of the land that Interstate 14 will sit on within the state of Georgia, and that puts us eons ahead of the other 4 states that are pushing for Interstate 14. Of course, timing's great. You know, infrastructure is a bipartisan topic, then which no matter whatever president gets elected in the next election, we, you know, infrastructure will be a priority. But without I-14 being a priority of Federal Highways Administration and the Georgia Department of Transportation, it has no shot at funding. And so that's kind of why I'm here today. You know, a lot's been done. We've accomplished a great deal here in Georgia. Some of you may have read a little bit about it, but we have passed resolutions in a number of communities that sit on the I-14 route. And, you know, my reason for being here today is to ask you to pass this resolution in support of I-14, but Jones County would not be alone in passing a resolution. The counties of Muskogee, Talbot, Taylor, Crawford, Peach, Bibb, Wilkinson, Baldwin, Washington, Jefferson, Richmond, and the cities of Columbus, Butler, Warner Robins, Macon, Milledgeville, Sandersville, Augusta, and our great Georgia General Assembly have all passed resolutions in support of I-14, and I'm asking you to join in their efforts in supporting this interstate, because I believe you know, it's what Georgia needs. I'm from Columbus, Georgia. We're, you know, the gateway to Interstate 14 for this state, and I mean, just from the second I found out about this thing, I was enthralled, and I knew that's what my community needed. And but why stop in Columbus with promoting this thing? And so that's why I'm here today. So I ask you, you know, I-14 is your interstate. Please pass this resolution and join me in making I-14 a reality for our great state. Thank you so much for your time, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you guys have. Yeah.
Any question? Go ahead, Commissioner Barr.
Of course.
You know, I went online to try and find a clearer map, because the older I get, it's harder to read these little maps. All right, so I'm just curious, in terms of Jones County, I know you said Fall Line Freeway, Highway. Is there a better map where we can really see who that affects and where that goes as it deviates across?
So there's been a congressional study done on I-14 back in 2010, and it shows the different alternatives for I-14, but it's now that the Fall Line Freeway has been completed, it's like pretty much likely that that's the route they'll take, and that's the route that we're
Pretty
pushing.
much likely. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, but no, I mean well, and see, that's why in your you know, in the resolution that you support, you're like supporting the Fall Line Freeway route. You're not supporting a route that, you know, would have possible adverse effects, because you know, I-14 running along the Fall Line Freeway, you know, allows there to not have to be that eminent domain process, and really we can make it a reality much quicker. But I can send a link to Mr. Ritzner to that study, and that should provide you with some better maps. They're just blown up. I mean, that map is from there, but it's just not blown up. And it also specifies the roads as well in text. So,
And I did read it, and it said could, another operative word, could fall along Georgia's Fall Line Freeway. So that's my concern. I don't know all the owners out there that have property and what that means. I know we went through a little transition and challenge with the bypass. So I can only imagine what it would look like going the other way. So, and I know our chairman even had an experience and some other folks. So that's my concern, and it does run across my district and some others. So.
yes, sir. Well, it only runs about, I think, a mile through Jones County along the Fall Line Freeway and along 57. You know, but that you know, they would basically, it takes an act of Congress to designate an interstate, and the bill that we'll be supporting will be the one the Georgia General Assembly passed, and that shows that it will go along the Fall Line Freeway. So, though the study says that, but if this thing gets through, it will run along Georgia's Fall Line Freeway.
Okay.
Any more questions? Commissioner Robinson, you got any questions?
I'm just curious how, where the idea originated.
Well, the idea, like I said, there's a congressional study done on it. Is actually funded by Senator Isaacson and Senator Saxby Chambliss when they were both serving senators for Georgia, and they're the ones who got the study passed. And then I-14 opened out in Texas about 2 years ago, and so it's not my idea. I'm just trying to expand it here to Georgia.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Pitt?
Then I guess any funding requirements, will it be on the states, the federal government, or what's?
Federal government.
Federal government.
But the bill that we're working on with Congress right now, it will just provide designation. I mean, funding will be a whole nother matter later. I mean, you got to understand this is an extremely long-term project, but we're doing what we can to make it a reality, and I'm willing to work in it for the long haul.
That's great.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Kitchen? No question? If anything, I think we'll need to look at it in the next meeting with some more information before we can vote on the resolution.
I mean, there's no legal issues related to it. It's just whatever y'all are comfortable with.
Which
I would like
Do
to
you
see
have a
the
copy
map
of the
look.
resolution?
There's a draft.
Y'all have a draft in your packets, but I'll I also have some.
Unlike Commissioner Martin, I'd like to see the map blow up and see exactly what we're talking about. If it's just that stretch of Jones between Bibb and Twiggs on 57, we still,
Which goes right by the industrial park, so that's.
right.
Ding, 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 ding.
The old Fall Line Freeway, Eisenhower.
It's the one running along 57, the one that the state designated as the Fall Line Freeway.
The one that couldn't get through Indian Wells. That same one.
That one.
We still got to figure that little section out there, huh?
It would pick up on 75 and 16 at least, yeah. So
Just a little small road.
Just small, but
Yeah, y'all can move it to the next meeting and
Okay. We'll
you
put
don't
it-
have to be back.
you
They
don't have
can
to be
vote
back.
on it.
We'll put it on our next meeting, so we'll have a little bit more information. We can look at it at that time.
yes, sir.
It sounds great.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate
I
it.
can see
Thank you
you're
for your
very passionate
presentation.
about it.
Yes, sir.
Thank y'all for coming.
Can I get a picture of you?
Of course.
Again, thank you very much. Our visitor tonight, we have Susan Barron with Dye Road. Are you? Welcome.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Wow, I don't really know how to follow that up. I'm Susan Barron, and I live at 511 Dye Road outside of Gray. I'm coming to you this evening to inquire about the repaving of Dye Road. Dye Road is a rural road off of Green Settlement Road. It is connected to Comer Road, which was paved earlier this year, I believe, and Cheehaw Trail, which is a dirt road that connects to Howard Roberts Road that leads to Dames Ferry Elementary. Dye Road is heavily traveled by the buses in the morning and in the afternoon. Just to remind y'all that Dye Road is holding water on the road instead of draining off like it should. It's been packed so much that honestly, it felt like I was driving on Interstate 20. I don't know if any of y'all have been on Interstate 20 lately, but I wouldn't suggest it. Puddles are so bad that you have to drive in the middle of the road to avoid them during heavy downpours. So my question is, was Dye Road added to the repaving roads list?
Which ones?
The last meeting we had the list of roads and had some confusion, and I think we were going back and grading the roads. So, I know we talked about it one time before, and so when we had the pictures of how bad the standing water was, and we were gonna try, number one, I think we cleared the shoulders to try to make sure the water was off. But I think part of the problem is the buses and the heavier vehicles. Road probably wasn't designed for that, because originally they wasn't going to Dames Ferry. And I think that's causing some dips in the road, and so it might be causing more issues, but, I talked with her about it too, and I think we need to make sure that it's graded by our system, the Pacer system. But I didn't know if it was gonna be back on this agenda from the last one we talked about under old business, but.
I think we're still working on the grading, and I know we're still working on the traffic counts on those roads too, which is another part that we talked about. But we can certainly do both of those things for 4 dry roads.
Because we had talked about last time we were here with the issue with the water. One was to get the immediate problem away, was getting the water off the road, and then making sure that we put it on our list to be graded anyway and see where it ranked on the list to be paved.
I also kind of want to know how far down on the list it was and what other roads were on the list to be paved, because, I mean, you know, we as citizens, we don't know which roads y'all are looking at as far as repaving. And, you know, I realize that my road may not be as important to repave as others. But it's important to me and all the wonderful people that like to live rurally. We live rurally for a reason. We don't want to live in the city. We want to live out in the country, and we love where we live. I'm just here tonight to remind y'all not to lose sight of the rural areas that need attention as well. I mean, I know every area has something that it needs, and I just don't want to see one area getting all the attention and not other areas too. So that's why I'm bringing it to y'all tonight. So, you know, is there any further information you can tell me whether?
So we're still working on compiling, we do our big paving project every year. We get funds from the state.
Right.
The board selects a list of roads to be improved with those funds, and we have to send that off to the state, and they give us the okay, and then we can proceed. The board discussed that project a meeting or maybe two ago, and ask us to go back and do some grading
Right.
of roads. And we have a list that's published on the website now that shows
Okay.
which roads are on the paving priority list. If the board's so inclined, we would need to add Dye Road to that list. We could do that now, or if you wanted to wait until the grades come back to do that. But we do try to keep that list updated on the website.
Oh, so it is on the website. I was not aware.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And so each year, when we do the Elmeg paving project, the board will take a look at that and select the roads that they want to improve with those funds. So,
Absolutely. I understand that it's not going to be this year, next year. That's fine. I just don't want it to be forgotten about that, you know, this road is going to continue to get worse. No matter how long you put it off, it's going to get worse. So, I mean, just imagine going down the interstate with all the potholes in the road. That's how this is going to be.
Well, just give you a heads up, you know, we reached out to the Board of Education too on what they felt like was the needed roads, and that Hall
Trail.
was the one that, with the new school and all, and we reached out to them because we don't know where their next expansion is going to be. So when we reached out to them, Hall Trail was the first one on their list
Right.
of the county needs to look at as far as possible paving, because that is a thoroughfare
Yes.
now due to the new school that a lot of people use.
Well, because Dye Road is a part of Hall, would y'all consider that as 2-in-1 project? Or would it just be that Hall would have to be paved and then Dye Road would have to be repaved a separate time?
Like, we'll have to cross that when we get there.
Okay. I mean, either way, I would be happy if both of them got done.
Right.
But if I had my choice, you know, whatever is we can get done.
Sure.
So I'm happy with either one. I mean, I live right at the corner of Dye and Hall, so I don't normally go down the dirt road because I have a brand new car and I do not want to be popping tires and messing up my vehicle. So I, for one, don't go down the dirt road. And it would be easier for me to get to the school as well going down Hall. So I would be for that as well.
On behalf of the board, we do appreciate you coming.
Thank you
and
so
giving
much
us
for
all this
y'all's time.
information. Hey, thank you. We move on tonight. We've got Dr. Jones with Youth Services. Welcome.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I want to thank you all for the opportunity to come and speak with you all. I have partnered with my company, Eventual Success. We have partnered with Middle Georgia Consortium to help them with the program Youth Services. And this is a program for ages 16 to 24-year-old that may have experienced some problems in high school where they're not about to complete their high school diploma, or they have dropped out of school and they're not on track to get a GED. So we're trying to assist them with that. I have already spoken with the Board of Education. I've been to different, the high school also to talk to counselors. So I'm really wanting to make sure that I'm letting you all know about this resource. Not only that, but I would love for you all to serve as a work site, because when we take the students through the process of getting their diploma or high school or GED, we want to put them in a positive work experience. And I don't know if you know that sometimes the soft skills are not where they need to be with our younger students. So we want to put them in a positive environment where they can learn while they're working. And so if you could also not only serve as a referral, but also be a work site for this program. Any questions?
Mr. Martin, you comment or question?
Oh, absolutely. Dr. Jones is one of the few partners that we have, Central Georgia Tech, Eventual Success, and Mercer University, so we're happy to see her out. I think all of the agencies at some point will be calling on us for work-based learning sites. The commissioners, we have Fowler in the meeting, as well as Billy Webster and a few others from around our district or our region. And we've all sort of accepted that responsibility that we would allow youth to come in and partner and have work-based learning sites. It's a no-brainer. They're our kids. They're in our community, so they should have an opportunity to come serve and learn. It doesn't cost us a penny.
Thank you.
It's covered through the Middle Georgia Consortium, which we all participate in, so it makes sense. And
Thank you.
I would move that we allow a work-based site.
Second.
We got a second? Any more questions or comments? We got, all right, a motion and a second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
You too.
What was the actual, what was the motion?
To allow work-based sites in the county.
Okay.
All right. Keeping you on your toes.
I
aren't we?
just, yeah. I just heard, all right, we got a second, and I was like, where was our motion?
You thinking about that new baby on I told you you could have
Just
brought her,
making sure.
she could have been right here.
She's a good one, too. She would have just left.
She could have been right there. All right, new business, we move on. Appointment of Tim Petrowski to serve as a local government agent to determine if mobile homes are intact or derelict. Mr. Petrowski?
Chairman, this is in response to a new law that became effective May 1st of this year. I've been approached on 2 occasions to perform an inspection to determine if a manufactured home is either intact or derelict pursuant to this law. The law requires that the Board of Commissioners appoint someone to perform that inspection on behalf of the jurisdiction. I believe I would be the most logical choice for that person, and so want to see if you would like to appoint me to that position.
Motion to approve, Tim.
Smile, Tim.
Smile.
You should see his face.
Obviously, there's not going to be more discussion. All in favor, aye? Aye. Ayes have it. Thank you.
Congratulations.
You have another hat, Tim.
For the record, that code section, that law is 44-7-112.
She had it memorized, too.
That's right.
You're
She's
going to have to
prepared.
add that into his job description, too, by the way.
Okay. All right, we're moving to bullying and harassment policy. Ms. Wagner?
Jonathan asked us to do a policy, and I have submitted it to y'all, and would ask for approval that we add this to our handbook.
I just had one question. Should we include anything when it comes to corrective action? I mean, if it's found that somebody is bullying an employee, that we have some type of corrective action that we have in place, would that be included in the policy, or just something up to the department heads?
Or would that go to our disciplinary?
I think it would go to your disciplinary
Okay.
policy and something that the board could take evidence on and determine.
Okay, good.
But, yeah, we would fall back on policy we already had in place.
Perfect. So,
Speaking of which, that's a good question. Do we have a reference in the handbook for if that took place?
There are several bulleted for harassment, and you can't go around spreading rumors about fellow employees or saying negative things, or so it is referenced in there.
Okay. All right, fair enough.
Any more questions for Ms. Wagner?
Mr. Chairman, the motion that we accept the bullying and harassment policy that's been put together by Ms. Shannon.
Second.
Second. No more discussion. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Thank you.
No, thank you, Shannon.
Thank you, Shannon. Yeah. Dodge Charger bid. At least we got the right brand. Mr. Riddle?
Yes, sir.
Figured I'd throw that in with the Ford and Chevrolet comment earlier.
Mr. Chairman, this is the request from the Sheriff's Office to go out for bid on 6 Dodge Chargers that are included in the current block.
Any questions?
I made the motion, we move on with getting bids on the charges for the sheriff.
Second.
Second? Any more discussion? None? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Ayes have it. The old Chargers, real quick. Don't we need to be, we've got some sitting out of the parking lot. Any plans of getting rid of them?
I need to, I'll bring that to y'all next time to have you surplus those, and we'll send them to the auction.
And reach out if there's any other surplus in the meantime. I think, I was pleased at our last little surplus sale. After looking at the prices, I think we did real well. Great. Recycle Day, Mr. Kitchens?
Chairman, we talked about in the past a tire amnesty day, to try to keep them off our roadsides, because people are gonna get rid of them somewhere. And, you know, we can't take them to our recycling center, so, what I was wanting to ask to get a consensus from the board is to have a recycling day that would include a tire amnesty day, maybe a shredder truck for people that wanna bring, documents that need to be shredded, can't get rid of any other way, and then a computer recycling. I've spoken to some of the local computer folks that would be willing to take those computers off our hands, you know, the recyclable boards. So that probably wouldn't cost, but, you know, there would be a cost to it. I mean, we would have to pay some dump fees and the shredder fees, but I think coinciding with our cleanup days and stuff like that, I think it'd be a good idea to promote it and have it a day where people can bring some of their stuff and recycle them, get rid of their tires and stuff. I'd like to get a consensus to find out what that cost would be and a good day for everybody.
And we have a visitor signed in also would like to speak. Mr. Scoville, you like?
I talked with Mr. Martin last week about this subject, and let me kind of give you a refresher of where I was enlightened about it. About 3 weeks ago, I was told at the Rock Creek dump site down there, I don't say dump, but garbage collection site, that the guy said, you can put the plastic, you can put the cardboard all in the same container now. And I'm like, what now? Do what? Say that again? He said, doesn't matter. He said, I said, well, why is that? I said, all these years, you know, I've been saving plastic bottles, separating it for doing what I feel like is a good citizenship thing to recycle the plastics and keep them out of our landfill. He said, doesn't matter now. He said, they're all going to the landfill. I said, well, what's the fact of that? He said, the recycling center in place that they were hauling it to in Milledgeville burned, and it hasn't been repaired and probably won't get repaired. So I was kind of a little skeptical about that, and I said, well, let me, you know, that's just one guy telling me that. So I asked the one up here in Gray, the main one up here, and he said, yep, that's right. He told you right. And I said, well, that's two. So I go back a third time to the one out at Rock Creek and ask another employee, and he said, yep, it's all going to the same. It doesn't matter which one of these dumpsters you put it in. One of them used to have household garbage. The other one had cardboard and plastic only. So I told several friends and, you know, throughout the community, and they were like, you got to be kidding. I said, no, I'm not. So I'm kind of got prodded to come to speak to y'all tonight. And everybody's kind of just been sickened by it. And I'm going to say sickened, but, you know, and I certainly don't know the answer. And we want to know what maybe y'all's input would be, you know, because everybody, we don't want to put plastic in our landfills. I mean, that's just a nationwide struggle now, is to get people in. I've been recycling for years and years, and would like to continue to do so. But I realize, you know, like one of them told me, said we can't haul it to Atlanta because it's cost prohibitive, and there's no other place to take it. So do y'all have any answers or any insight as to what could we be looking at in the future as far as?
Our director of public service, I think you've been looking for another market, haven't you?
Yes, we have, but we haven't come up with anything. Sam probably knows more about it.
Yeah. It's a problem. It's not just us.
Yeah.
It's surrounding counties that it's twofold. The recycling companies, once you've recycled a product, it's no longer usable, so they're not gonna recycle recycled material, number one. Number two, production is getting at a cost level where it's just as cheap to make new equipment than it is to recycle old
Right.
equipment. So as it goes down the line, nobody wants our recycling. Nobody's definitely not gonna open a facility to accept recycling.
When there's no profit.
When there's no profit to it at all. So as a business model, they don't do it. And so we're struggling to find where to take them to. There's one place below Houston County that's called a transition type center or a transfer center. And they bring all the single source garbage in. So that's where you put it all in one. You take it down there, they put it on a big shaking conveyor belt and plastic drops out, paper drops out, glass. They divide it up that way, bundle it up and ship it off and try to make what they can out of it. But that's the only place. But then you get right back into the cost to transfer it there.
Yeah.
The cost for us to haul it all the way below Houston County would cost us too much to get it down there. It's a struggle, and we're trying to find something to do, which is one of the things here, you know, that this would actually cost us if we can get all of our tires in one spot, or all our plastic in one spot, or all our paper in one spot, then we're paying to haul that to somebody, not hauling all of our trash, and hopefully they'll separate it. And because we can't afford to separate it, just being honest, we can't afford to separate all our trash here and haul it individually to a place
Yeah.
to pay them to take it. Otherwise, we would be having to charge our residents, not have a free, open, recycling center, which is what we have now. So it is a struggle, but we're looking for options, but right now we don't have an option that we know of until something comes open.
Well, that shed some light on it. I mean, everybody's like,
Yeah.
what? You gotta be kidding. I said, go ask the guy at the dump. He told me, and I'm, telling you what they told me. So, so I told him I would come and try to get some kind of answer on it. And I can understand that, which I knew there was probably no perfect answer to it when I came, but
Not a good answer, that's for sure.
Okay, thank you.
They quit taking paper on 7th Street too, didn't they? Cardboard? They used to be making iron. I don't know what they call themselves now.
If they do, I'm sure it's got to be bundled and packaged and
right.
baled. So we would have to get, basically buy a baler to let somebody do it.
Yeah. One of the people that I talked to kind of as we've been looking, that's been in the garbage business for a long time and knows the numbers real well, said really the only thing that has a positive value right now is clean baled cardboard. He said everything else has a negative value, and that's even before you account for transportation costs. So there's really just no market for any of it right now. So I know John and Angie have been looking around, and I've called other counties, and we don't have a good fix for it just yet, but we'll certainly keep looking.
I just want to share this. When he called me about it, I happened to be watching some TV show, I think with the kids, and it was talking about extreme recycling. And they were taking these plastics and recycling them into road material. We pave a good amount of roads. It might be worth us looking at something in that realm, whether that's a regional application, where there's a regional recycling facility that does that on purpose, much like the cotton gin groups that have formed to process raw cotton. We may have that ability regionally to process all of our plastics, to leverage that into some road material. Seems a bit extreme, but we know plastic's not going anywhere, and neither is the fact that we have to pave roads. So I went back out on the website and I was trying to find it, but it was one that was really neat where they actually showed the entire process of them merging it into some other material to make it pliable for road use. So yeah, it was really neat. So
Process was crazy, but it worked.
yep. So regional commission opportunity.
Well, we've got recycling day. I have a motion to.
Yeah, and with it, I support Sam with it. Like some of the shred companies, Shred, Monster, they may even do it for free, just for the advertisement and sponsorship to try to get some business from it. So for any of them that's willing to do it for free, as long as we promote it for them, we'll try to take advantage of that as we look at the cost as a whole.
We just need to make sure that we don't end up with a lot of commercial. We don't. It's residential, and we don't need. I know yours truly would love to get rid of some tires right now. that end up at my house, but it, I'm gonna have to pay to get rid of them, so we just need to make sure it's limited residential, not,
Right. And Chairman, I don't know that we need to motion anything now unless, because I think we need to figure out who the partners are gonna be, what it's gonna take, and then bring a cost back, for something for us to approve.
Okay.
If that's all right.
All right, that's fine, sounds great. We're through with this recycle day. I will move on to our 511 transit agreement, Mr. Risner. 5311, excuse me.
Mr. Chairman, you may recall from years past that when we deal with transit, you're talking about federal funds and state funds, and they do things, the process starts way early. So this is for FY 2021, and this is just authorization to submit an application for transit funding for state fiscal year FY 2021.
Motion to approve.
Motion. Second. Any more discussion? None. All in favor, aye? Aye. Ayes have it. Moving on, business night, right-of-way acquisition services for Howard Roberts Road. I asked Mr. John Albright to come and explain his company and the services. There were some questions last time that I'd love to have you talk with these young men about, and some not so young.
Not so young. Good evening. Our company provides right-of-way acquisition services all over 4 states, Georgia being one of them. And we acquire right-of-way in small projects and large projects. Recently I've been working on a elevated express lane project on 285, so our experiences are wide-ranging. Chris and I were talking and found that the county was looking at doing some the DOT was looking at doing some bridge work on Howard Roberts Road on a bridge that's failing. Been built in the 60s and in poor shape. And the expense for having the DOT acquire that right-of-way was astronomical, and based on a cost estimate that has quite a few inflation factors built in. And so our company has provided an estimate of the services that we can provide in order to acquire that right-of-way, and according to federal and state standards, so that it'll be accepted by GDOT. And so that's been presented to you, I think, at the last meeting. And Chris indicated there were some questions, and I just wanted to be an opportunity to answer any questions you might have about our qualifications, about the process, about the need to have a company acquire that right-of-way. So,
Mr. Martin, you want to start?
Yeah, I think my question was more about, what was it, conflict of interest?
Okay.
Because you had just been appointed to the Development Authority Board and didn't want any appearance of conflict or even favoritism. So as long as we've cleared that hurdle, I'm good.
And we've discussed that. Was this one out for bid?
No,
this is
professional
professional
services
services.
don't require.
Sean looked into that.
Talk about me.
Y'all see why I brought him? I've just been home with the baby, right?
This your
we
first day back to work,
discussed it. I know. I'm not on my game.
But you're doing good.
I've just been assigning him duties. We did discuss that. I had some concerns about sort of the appearance, because
Right. Yeah.
everything is about transparency, and whether or not the professional services that we reached out to you were before your appointment to the board.
right.
I don't think there could be some concerns if it was done after he was appointed to the board.
Just tell what you and I talked about it, your
Chris and I have talked a long time ago, and I've been involved in this field of acquiring right-of-way and having the experience in the transportation sector for a long, since '88. And I grew up here. This is my home, and I have some experiences I think that would help the county. And I just asked Chris to be aware of that, if there was anything I could do to help the county in any of the areas I have expertise in. And so both of those opportunities really kind of came up. I would see that there might be some concern if I individually was trying to secure work through the county, but this our company is presented this bid, so.
Well, and we've seen the bid with, DOT, and it's, like you said, astronomically higher.
179,
Yeah.
I can't,
Yeah.
Yeah,
for less than an acre, I
Yeah.
And I can explain that if you want me to
Sure.
explain the background of why that's so expensive. I do those cost estimates all over the state, and they are for planning purposes and programming purposes, and the last thing they want is to get down the road on a project and run out of money. And because of the way they're done, and I've done hundreds of projects, I've never run out of money acquiring property because of the way they handle it. And so,
Imagine not.
you know, so, well, you know, and it's a universal standard, so the appraisal services cost, it's $5,000. Well, that's what it costs in Atlanta. It's not what it costs in Gray, Georgia. So they're not regionally adjusted for the costs that are different, and there's radically different ways to approach this in Atlanta, around 285 on the top end, than it is here in Jones County, so.
And John also talked, he said he would rather have his services used to save the county money, if that, you know, if it meant him coming off the board. I know,
I don't think that that's necessary. I just wanted to make sure that we were okay.
Sure.
You know,
I don't think there's
yeah.
any per se conflict other than just what may have been the appearance. But if
Sure.
this was an issue and we sort of reached out to you prior to there being any appointment to the board, then
Right.
I think we're fine there. The duties on the development authority that you would be sort of tasked with don't relate to
They
this
don't relate to this at
contract,
all.
so.
I see him as a great asset for the development authority with all his, you know, vast knowledge with GDOT and whatnot.
Right.
And we talked shortly after I got elected about, and John said, if there's anything I can help the county with, give me a call, because it's my county and I love this county and I want to make sure there's some way I can help us save money. And when this came up, I said, I know who I was going to call. I went through all the GDOT phone calls, and I finally got down. I said, all right, it's time to call John. That's when.
And I've bought projects for Jay Strange, who's the GDOT contact in Thomaston, so we have a good working relationship on previous projects.
Roger, any questions? I'm on this side of the room. Commissioner Penn? We
Motion
had
to
the,
approve.
we still have the quote, original quote.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second. All right.
Give the whole what's the whole motion for the record?
The motion is to approve right-of-way acquisition services for Howard Roberts Road by THC.
Thank you, that makes me happy.
You're welcome.
She's gonna whip us back in the
She
shade.
is gonna
We
get
had a
y'all in
couple
shape,
meetings-
that's true.
Makes me
We had a
happy.
couple meetings, we had it made. Now
It's over. It's over.
Cliff note
now we
version.
gotta be on our P's and Q's now. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
On a
Thank
motion
you
that
for
we
your
can-
willingness to serve on the board, too.
Amen.
Department heads. Mr. Lowe? Jeffers left? Wow. Sheriff's Department, Mr. Douglas?
They're all-wheel drives this year. That's all they're not doing the rear wheel.
The all what?
All-wheel drive.
Oh,
And your oldest car is the best one out there, that newer one.
so we need four-wheel drive cars?
All-wheel.
Oh, well. So you won't get stuck when you pull off the road? No, I haven't. I know one of his hideouts is behind my house, so.
I'm watching that spot.
Long story. Mr. Graham? Why is the short, great.
Thank you for here.
Thank y'all. We appreciate all y'all, everybody's, citizens included, input. Mr. Resner? All right. We need a report on our newest niece.
She's doing great. She's a very sweet baby. Our first one was a difficult baby, and she's still difficult. She is headstrong, but this one is sweet and mild. So this one I think is going to be our easier child. So the first one has to take after Sean. The second one must take after me.
Sean's
The
gonna,
second
he's not gonna say anything back there. He's a smart husband.
The smile.
That's great. Welcome to have you back. But
Yes.
I could not wait to get back. I couldn't let y'all get used to him sitting in my chair.
So you were obviously watching to see if we were doing.
I was watching every meeting with baby in my lap.
So did we get in trouble while you were gone?
I texted him a couple times, and he relayed none of the information. He was like,
That's great.
So that's why y'all had it easy there.
All right, just whip us back into shape. We kind of got flat where you going, but it's nice to have you back. Welcome back.
Thanks.
And you can bring the baby sometime.
I'll have to bring her up here.
Great. Even a hard-headed one.
Maybe the employee.
Yeah.
I'll bring her.
Yeah, okay. Citizen comments. Anybody tonight? No citizen comment? Wow. Mr. Kitchen, you want to start us off on comments tonight?
I'm good.
Well, this is,
Well, I got something, Mr. Chairman.
go for it. You can take
And
that.
it's really something good too. I was reached out today from a friend of mine about AARP. They have a aging friendly living community designation that the city and the county could apply for together. And with that designation, it's only going to help Gray and Jones County be more of a marketable place for seniors as they look for places to live, work, and play. So from my understanding right now, it's a free program. And what I'll do is get the information to the board, Jason and Shannon, for you guys to review it. And over the next couple of weeks, we can review it and let the city review it. And hopefully it's something we can do together so that Jones County will receive that designation. And I think it's something to really be proud of as people take advantage of AARP, to know that our community is an AARP partner and want to do what's best for our citizens here in Jones County. So you'll be getting some information about that really soon. And I'll be talking to John about like road enhancements programs. I had a chance to ride around with somebody over this past weekend to share some ideas about roads. I just wanted to talk to John and hear more about it as we go forward. So, but the biggest thing I'm most excited about was the AARP, the friendly communities, and thank Shannon and Jason for the hard work on the bullying policy, because it's something that's much needed. We know kids face it in the schools, but we do have some employees that do face it when they come to work. And we don't want that to happen here in Jones County. So that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, thank you. Ms. Wagner, did you have anything tonight?
I was just gonna remind y'all about, the Employee Appreciation Day.
No. Starts
Friday.
Starts at 11 o'clock, 10:30.
Yeah, we'll start games and then we'll eat.
Okay.
If y'all wanna compete.
Any challenges going on?
We got a groundbreaking ceremony. I'll try to be here by lunch. It'll be tough.
Appreciate it.
Commissioner Robinson?
I'm good, thank you.
Commissioner Martin?
Just want to share this real quickly. I want to say, over the last 6 years, I think I've observed taxes move from around 16 million to 20 million. I look at the allocation of funds from this particular list, and if we go with the suggested one, and you give District 4 $145,000, that's like 0.88%, less than 1%, and theoretically, if we represent a quarter of the county, there's some equity that we need to address in terms of investment into our district. So that would be a concern of mine. So I want y'all to be aware of that. We know that if we try to do all of the projects, that something has to be cut, but I think you also have to be realistic about your reinvestment. So that's all I have.
All right. We need a motion to adjourn. Before we do that, I want to thank everybody again for your input. And everybody was here for the work session. That was great, the input we got from the department heads and community on that. I need a motion to adjourn to go into executive session for real estate personnel.
So
We'll
moved.
be on there. Second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Thank you.